Hello, everybody, and welcome to the McRADcast. Today, we are joined by our first guest in a while. Pretty exciting. So today I'm joined by author, screenwriter, director, and righteous dude, and good friend, Keith Hochtel. Keith.
Hello, hello.
How are you, man?
Oh, man, one of those days.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was really good to see you. We kind of caught up a little bit before we started, and obviously Josh is here. Josh.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing? But yeah, we did a little catching up before. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been some years.
A lot.
Yeah, so
well over 10, probably closer to 15 plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have been messaging quite a bit. I'm really bad at messages because it's especially here recently. I've been pretty busy moving and quitting jobs and
hey, man,
finding new jobs and things like that.
I was about to say, are we gainfully unemployed or gainfully employed?
I'm gainfully employed. Awesome. Yeah, I'm not really getting into that. I don't really share all that. No. But yeah, man, it's really good to see you. And we're going to kind of get into what you do and the things that we all love and just have a good time here.
Yeah, man.
Cool. So, as I mentioned, you are an author. Screenwriter, director, all these things.
I wish I was a screenwriter and director.
Well,
I'm definitely an author.
I mean,
I've actually made money. It's pretty nice.
That's awesome.
I made a whole check for $75.
Hey,
man.
I'll dig it. It
only took me 2
It's
years
more than a lot of people can say.
I know,
right?
Really. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of the way I look at it. At least I had a chance. You know?
So you have a couple books out currently, correct? I know
I have 4 as of yesterday.
So I know I own a physical. I was looking for it. I have so much stuff, and Josh can even tell you my room looks like a storage shed because when I moved, and I've got so much stuff I have to go through. But I do have a physical copy of But Much Too Young to Care. Is that the name, or is it Much Too Young to Care? Is that
the one you have?
Yes.
Yeah, it's But Much Too Young.
Oh, and
to
you
Care.
you also gave me a
Letters
copy.
to Paul.
Yes,
Yeah.
Letters to Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So, and all of this is available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, Amazon, Kindle, and a couple of them are actually on audio.
Okay.
On Audible.
Oh, nice.
That's
So,
incredible. Did you do the readings?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, no.
Nobody wants to listen to this.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know the Audible thing. So,
Yes.
how does that work? So do you get to pick who does this, or do they go, "Hey, we got a guy"? Or
They audition. It's actually really cool. The lady that did Letters to Paul, that's the one I'm just enamored with her performance. Her name is Danielle Muthing. I'm sorry, Muthing. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyways,
sure.
And she is absolutely amazing. She brought the character to life. First time I heard her, I didn't even listen to it. I had a few other auditions. I listened to them, and I kind of laughed at them. Some of them are pretty bad, but she is amazing. It's a short story, and if I was to push anything, I would push that story because
it's a good story, and it's interesting. It's because it's written as a series of letters.
Yes,
and
yes.
So it's I don't know if you would consider those each chapter necessarily, but it kind of plays out in a way that, and I dig the style, and the reason I like it is because it's not written like, everything like it is chronological, but it's not the same as just writing a story like, and then he did this and she did this. It's kind of a recounting of things.
Exactly.
And,
exactly. Yeah. I'm really bad at the he said, she said, because if I really get down to it, more than likely that's what I'm going to write. He said this, she said this, but I'm really good at dialogue. I love dialogue because I can create a whole story without doing much directing. You know what I'm saying? I was told a long time ago when I was really wanting to be a writer director, and I was told, don't do too much directing as to because let the actors play that out. So I literally learned to write everything in dialogue. And
so that's an interesting approach because as much as I'm not, and I don't claim to be an expert on any of this stuff because I'm just a goober that likes music and movies and whatever, and I have my own take on it. But
hey, we all love a goober, you know. What I'm saying?
everyone loves goober, but so so you have some directors, and we're going to go off the path for a second. We'll get back.
Oh, sure.
You have some directors who are like very monotonous. Like Hitchcock apparently was very like, stand here facing this way while you say this line exactly the way it was written. You know, the lighting has to be this way. Whereas some directors are more, all right, this is what I'm going for. You guys make it come alive, you know? So it's not to say that being meticulous is the wrong way to do it. It's just not the way you prefer to do it, maybe.
Yes and no. Like, if I was literally actually filming it, there would probably be a little more direction. But I feel that the dialogue tells more story than the physical, and in some cases. Now, that's not true in everything.
Sure.
But I like giving the character the chance to talk for himself.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to a lot of writers on on Facebook, and a lot of them will sit there and talk about how they, how their character writes the story.
I got you.
They don't.
That makes sense.
We don't. It's like almost kind of like having other people in your head. Kind of.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Being able to get the voices out on.
That's a pretty interesting take.
Exactly.
That's an interesting take, and I think that's probably a lot of what writing and stuff is getting that out there, right? You get the especially if you're that creative and you're thinking about stories all the time. It's like, well, let me put this out there.
Well, you hear about writer's block. I've never had that.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to sit down and write something, I could just write it because I can just pop it out real easily, and it's never been a problem. It needs a lot of editing when I'm done, but for that part, I've never had it. I will go months and months without writing anything, but that really just depends on how I'm feeling at that moment.
Right. So I've got a buddy. I'm actually going to give you his. Just because I think that you guys could bounce some stuff off each other, I'm going to give you his contact stuff. I'm going to ask him first, but I'm sure he'll be fine with it. But my buddy Billy, or BJ, depending on when you've met him, he goes by Billy now, but I've known him as BJ for his whole life. But
everybody knows you as Justin now.
Well, it depends on the situation, but yeah,
you've always been McCaskill to me.
Mostly McCaskill still, but there's a few that through work and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Justin. So
they're all wrong.
Right.
Yeah, they're all wrong. I mean, that's absolutely right.
Well, back in the day, if someone said Justin, there were, especially in high school, there was like a million of us.
Of course.
So we would all be like, hey, well, who? So that's why it was easier. But anyway, Billy or BJ, he's taken an interest to writing lately, and he's been listening to this podcast called Writing Excuses. And
look that up.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's really good. And he started from the beginning of it.
Right.
So, and it's been going for like 10 years.
Oh God, I don't know if I can go that far back.
So he literally started from the beginning, and he's just listening to it kind of as he drives or whatever he's doing. And he's been kind of he's really been kind of getting into these techniques for writing. So anyway, I said all that to say one of the things he was talking about was differences in writing, and he was talking about there's a lot of different styles, obviously. But I'm not talking about genres. I'm talking about how you approach writing.
Oh yeah.
So, two of the major ones are you have an ending in mind, and you write a story to meet that. And then there's also just you have characters and a setting in mind, and then you write and you kind of come up with the plot as you go.
That's more along the line of me. I let the character take me, because honestly, my first book, I wrote it it was intended to be a screenplay.
I got you.
Yeah. But that
much makes sense too. Is that much too young to care?
Yeah, but much too young. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense because of the way it's written. It's
got 3 parts to it.
It almost feels like a play.
It is, and that's kind of probably where I got my my drive.
Sure.
Because I did go to theater and help out a little bit.
Were you a theater kid?
I wish. We didn't have it. Small school, class of about 60.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, even I went to South Side here in Jackson, and we had a graduating class of like 200 and something.
Yeah.
But the theater department there, while it was definitely there, I think they had some struggles there, and I think it's gotten better over the years. And I might be misspeaking. There might be someone who listens to this and goes, "No, it was badass the whole time." I have no idea, but I think even in a larger school, I don't think they had quite the means to do what they wanted. So
at Northside, when I was there, we had an amazing theater program. Part of it was the teacher, though. Like a lot.
That makes a difference. That makes a huge
teacher.
difference. Yes.
Yeah, because we had a guy named Christopher Bennett, and
I know Chris.
Yeah.
He does lighting and sound for all the for the events at the Civic Center here in Jackson. He's a good dude.
He's got his
man.
own like company and stuff to do all of that.
I've actually helped them do a tear down and stuff after a show before.
He's about as good as it gets in the area for sure, right? And so like to have that guy as your theater teacher was like a blessing for
Sure.
Oh, no doubt. See, I used to hang out at, we had my family friends, and they worked at the community theater in Germantown.
Okay.
So, it's a smaller theater, but
it's a real
Germantown, so they have money. You know what I'm saying? So I'd do a lot of ushering. I'd see a lot of actors running around before the shows and stuff. Yeah, that in itself is funny. But and then at the end of some of the shows, I helped tear down the set. So it was fun. It was fun. And
any like bigger productions of well known stuff, or is it kind of just?
I'm trying to think what all they did. They you may never heard of it. Nonsense. Well, they did Nonsense too. Nonsense. They're hilarious. They are.
I've seen Sister Act. Does that count?
Yeah. Dude, I'm going to tell you what.
Whoopi was there. She's like, I want to be a part of this one, too.
Let me tell you this story. There was a character called Sister Amnesia.
Okay.
You can get the idea what's wrong with her. Okay? And she's kind of an airhead. In this day and age, I don't know if it would go over well, but she was a little ditzy. And she was sitting there with a bowl on the stage because they're supposed to be doing like a variety show to make money for something. I can't remember exactly what it was. She's breaking an egg in this bowl, right? And one of the other nuns comes up and says, "What are you doing, Sister Amnesia?" And she says, "Well, I'm breaking an egg for good luck." And they say, "Breaking an egg? No, you break your leg for good luck." She says, "Oh, you break your leg so you can get into the cast."
Badoosh.
Oh, yes,
that's actually pretty good.
The humor in that show is yes.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
No, I'm telling you, the humor was just on par, and the acting was amazing. I did see Wizard of Oz once there.
Nice.
There were a lot of other. A lot of shows. I watch a lot of shows there, but it's been
We're getting out of the weeds here, but we do this a lot, so we're
weeks.
just going to go with it. But I actually went to New York. I went on a trip to New York with my mother, which is like the most uncool thing you can probably do.
Hey man, I've been to Vegas twice.
Yeah. So
with my mother.
so she took me to a Yankees game, and then I took her to see the Lion King on Broadway, and it was dope.
Nice.
Yeah, it was super good.
I'll bet it was.
Like the way they recreated some of the scenes.
I've seen just a
cool.
little bit, with the behind the scenes, and it looked amazing.
Yeah, it was super cool. So yeah, but yeah, getting back kind of to what you were so you say kind of your writing style is more, and there's like fancy terms for this that I don't know.
There probably is. I'm literally probably the dumbest writer there ever was, but you know what? I have fun.
Yeah, man, that's important.
Exactly.
So. You're kind of you have your characters and kind of a loose story maybe, and then you go, all right, let's just roll with this and then see where it takes us.
Very basic. The first one, but much too young to care, actually started sad story. I was working in a small Piggly Wiggly grocery store back when they were still a thing, and I went into the deli one day, just made a comment about they were building some trays, like, "Oh, who died?" And they're like, "Oh, these two kids in school." And I was like, oh shit, man.
Yeah.
And it turned out people I knew.
Man.
They were in, it was really weird. They were in band with me.
Okay.
They were a year younger than me, I'd say. And that bothered me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these idiot kids around here, me being about 18, so I was much more mature.
Yeah, much wiser.
I was never the kid. I was the kid sitting in my room reading comic books or watching movies. I didn't interact. And so I decided, I wrote a couple little small things, but nothing, never finished anything. And I thought, I'm gonna write this. These idiot kids, they'll be right back doing the stupid stuff next week, They're sad now. I'm broken, and they weren't even that close to me. I'm like, this is messed up.
Sure.
So I'm like, I'm going to write a story. I'm going to write a story where you get to love the characters, and then I'm going to kill the bastards at the end, right? I fell in love with my characters. I couldn't kill them.
Yeah.
So I basically lot, just, my old notebook that I wrote it in literally has the first few paragraphs just X'd out of it.
If I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken, I've been mistaken before. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. You good? You need to...
No. I don't give
So, what was that ringtone, by the way?
Rancid, Memphis.
Nice. Right on. So, if I'm not mistaken, you were... Did that start out as wanting to make a movie out of that?
Yes.
That's what you were kind of working on back then.
Oh, way back then. I think at the point that I was hanging out with y'all, I was writing third or fourth part or something else. I know there was something else I was writing too.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure
because and I can't find it, but I know I still have it somewhere. You gave me like a rough draft of a screenplay or something,
and it probably was that.
And I know for a fact, and I know where, like, if I can find the bag or whatever it's in, I know because it's with. So back then I was still playing music with guys, and
I saw you one little concert behind Service Merchandise.
Yeah.
Whatever, in that little bitty.
Were you at that Halloween show? By chance?
No.
Were we dressed in drag?
No, God.
Was that with Kafir?
Why didn't you guys invite me to that?
Yeah,
I missed all the good stuff. I swear.
But I know I'm almost positive I still have like a rough draft of a screenplay. I'm going to try to find it for you because I think that'd be cool. To revisit.
Oh yeah.
But it's in this bag full of like old like zines and stuff that some of the guys I was in a band with were writing.
Oh, nice.
And like show flyers and like a bunch of old Trauma movie posters.
Nice.
So I've got it somewhere. I know I've got it somewhere. Like I have faith in myself, and I'm going to find it, and we're going to revisit it and
send pictures of that. Yeah. I'm going to put it all over, my Facebook page.
Yep.
I mean, that I love to show the old stuff. Like I have pictures of, literally, I started writing this. Oh gosh, 99, 2000 when I first started writing it, and I have pictures of my friends typing it because I didn't want to type it.
Yeah.
And it took me about 15, 20 years to finally decide, well, damn it, I'll just type it myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it turns out I'm still a terrible typer, but whatever.
I'm terrible at it. Like I'm a what do they call it? Hunt and peck.
Yes, yes.
I'm like pretty fast at it.
I've gotten better at it as I've written.
People that like it impresses the shit out of me that people can do the like.
Oh yeah,
you just want to smack them.
I'm like, what?
Smack them upside the back of the head. No, stop it.
But yeah, so anyway, kind of bringing it back to my buddy BJ. He is he's going to start writing soon. I think he's probably doing some test writing stuff. Sure. But he's just talking about kind of these ideas he's getting from this. From this podcast, and it's called Writing Excuses because it's kind of one of those things where it's like the original premise of the podcast was people who want to become writers, but they have every excuse in the world to why they're not doing it. And so it was kind of a thing to like encourage people. But it's funny because he's talking about now, like he's at a point in the podcast where they're talking about where the Kindle and all that kind of just released. Yeah. In the podcast, they're like, yeah, this isn't gonna last. It's a fad, and he's like,
"Oh man, it's the best. It's the best thing in the world because for once I could do something and it didn't cost me anything.
So I am
just a couple brain cells trying to figure out how to work the damn thing.
Sure, but I get the appeal of it. However, I am the kind of guy who, when I read a book, I want to like hold a book, and I know that that's going to the wayside. Essentially, like eventually, it will all be digital. I think.
I mean, Star Trek: The Next Generation, they were still looking in books. I mean, they looked at a pad, but they even they said they want the actual
TNG represent.
Yeah, the problem is it's just so much more monetarily viable to do it digitally.
I get it.
The only problem is trying to find somebody to sit down and read.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have the money to really advertising, I'm going to tell you, everything's about advertising. If you can't advertise right, and I'm telling you, I'm terrible at advertising. So
he knows from experience.
Oh my God.
But he said that the podcast even goes into detail, not just about how, not about writing tips, but also about the business and like the business side of it.
Yes, that's the hard part.
Yep, it gets into how to find a publisher. Kind of what that entails, and I didn't realize this. If someone gets you a publishing deal, you know that you don't get to like pick your cover art.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, well, and it's because I get it to an extent, because I think a lot of times people.
I'd hope you'd have some say in it at least.
You probably have some input, but at the end of the day, they have final say because it's them that's on the line.
Yeah, it really is.
I think that I think from their standpoint, it's like they know more about marketability.
What's going to sell?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'm sure you can say, hey, I kind of want it to be like this character at least, or some representation of this character, and they'll go, okay, we'll work with that.
But here's the angle. We talk shit about corporations all the time. That's basically what some of these giant publishers are.
Oh, of course.
Right? Oh yeah, definitely.
And so like
Simon and Schuster.
How much of it is just shenanigans? Where they're like, where they want to control everything, and they have to have the control, and like I was listening to a Rogan podcast, surprise, over the last couple of days, and there was a guy on there that had written a book about what is natural, basically, and he was like embarrassed to say the title of the book because the title was standard, but the subtitle was like this really long, stupid, drawn out thing, and he was like, I hate it. But I didn't get to pick it.
Right.
It wasn't up to me. It wasn't up to me. They just do what they do, and then all of a sudden, like, he has a subtitle to a book that is his that he didn't get to control at all.
Right.
And he was like, in the English version is the subtitle that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so like, it's different.
And it's you can see it. You can even see that with books. If you look at, like, I'm a big fan of The Witcher. And I found The Witcher through the video games. Like, I'm a gamer, so I started playing those, and I didn't realize that when I first saw the books, I thought they started writing books after the video games, but that's not the way it worked. CD Projekt Red, the company behind the video game,
they do it at the same time, or did
no? They were
wrote
fans,
the books first.
No, they were fans of the books.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
And they're a Polish company, and it's a Polish author who wrote the books originally. And if you look at the Polish artwork versus the American artwork, it's completely different, and it's because of that whole thing with publishers. They just do their thing.
Same as Harry Potter.
Yeah,
the English books are completely different looking.
And I always hate, like, I'm not a fan of books that get movies made after them,
and then
they have the movie artwork on them. I hate that. Like, I
promise you. I will not complain if one of my books.
Oh no! That's not what I'm saying.
I totally get it.
I don't like that. If I own the book, I want
the
original cover or a variant or something.
If anybody comes upon a copy of Jaws, the original, free, send it my way.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I'm gonna tell you, I would love to have a copy of that with that original art.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't even actually look like a shark, but it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But yeah, man. So I remember. I mean, shit, dude. You used to come. So when I worked in the mall, I guess that's how we met.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that was, I mean, we say 15 years ago. That's way more than 15 years ago. Because
it's got to be closer to 20.
Oh, absolutely. Because that was like 2001, 2 in that
probably
neighborhood.
About that way. Well, best way to check it out. Anybody who wants to look up when the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, it was around that time frame.
Yeah.
Because that's when my car got broken.
It sure is. At the movie theater. At the old one, right? Regal?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Cat P Theater.
Yeah, which I liked. I loved that theater.
I loved going there. I did. When that happened, I was broken. I was like, good memories. Why would they do this to me?
Yeah. And we, so I can tell this now because it's not open anymore. I mean, whatever, I could tell it anyway. But so Scott Norton worked up there.
Yeah, I think that's how we got in to see. It was preview.
Well, and we would go the Thursday before the movie came out. We would go up there, and sometimes it'd be a crew of us, but sometimes it would just be like me, Scott, and like one other person.
Yep.
And we would sit in there in the very back row and smoke cigarettes in the theater, like while the movie was playing, because no one else was there, and it was like the best thing ever. Like I would bring like a couple beers, and we would just sit back there and smoke. And
those viewings got out of hand. Scott had to stop them because too many people started.
Well, yeah, because people couldn't.
I think there was probably about 10 of us when we went that night. Yeah.
There was one. It was a big movie. I forgot what it was, but when we went to might have been House of 1,000 Corpses.
It was one of those, yeah.
And
or one of the Matrix movies, maybe.
Maybe.
I think it was House of 1,000 Corpses.
But there was like fucking 40 people. Mm-hmm. It was ludicrous. Like
because the whole thing was like. And Scott was like, yeah, don't bring a bunch of people. And then people kept telling, and we were like, dude, this isn't that.
It was like
thing.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers kept talking about Fight Club.
You're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we quote House of 1,000 Corpses all the time.
All the time.
I haven't seen that movie in, it's probably been 10 years at least since I've seen that movie.
So I look back on those, and I look back now and I go like, I don't think Rob Zombie's that good of a filmmaker.
Really?
Yeah,
I think depending on
I think Devil's Rejects was way better. And I'm
but
not
I mean,
saying,
it takes him longer.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that House of a Thousand Corpses is bad, but it was definitely like an homage to like Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Things.
I mean, his music and his movies are basically homage to classic horror.
So, and you brought up the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
I did not hate it.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite horror movie.
Oh, like the original?
The original.
Yes.
It's a tie between that and Halloween, and it's just because John Carpenter's the GOAT. But
Yes.
but we'll get to that in a second. So the reason I didn't like the remake is because it's like you couldn't recreate the visceral thing that was that original thing. Now, I'm not saying it was a bad movie because I didn't hate it, but it was like, I don't know how to explain it. So when I first saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I've probably talked about, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast or not, but when I first saw it, I was very young because I had this thing when I was young where for some reason my mom would let me watch like crazy stuff, kind of unsupervised, for better or worse. But she is great. But that's one thing. But I had this thing even at an early age where I loved the feeling of like being afraid. Even though I was like, I can't go take a piss because I'll get killed. But like I just liked it, like the adrenaline rush of it or whatever. And the first time I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 77, I think
74?
74. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the first time I saw that movie, I thought it was almost like real, like found footage style. Like it's what it felt like to me because I was so young, I didn't understand. You know what I mean? And which when obviously you get older,
it kind of has that feeling. Well, it really does.
When you get older, you get older, and you go like, oh no, it's obviously just a movie. But there's a few scenes in that movie that still to this day like rattle me. And
him slamming the door,
dude.
I know, right?
That door opens because it's like she's like walking and it's quiet and everything's like, what's going on? And then that door fucking rips open. And
now, of all the people you've met, did you ever meet Gutter Hands?
Yes.
Oh my god!
And he's a gentle giant. He's a sweetheart.
I've heard that.
He's a sweetheart. And I'll get to that in 1 second. But yeah, he's a giant man.
Yes.
And so this door opens, giant dude with the crazy leather face mask, and he's got the meat apron with the blood all over it, and he grabs this chick, and there's like chaos, right? Screaming and flailing, and then disappears, and that door shuts, and it's like, I'm getting chill bumps talking about it, and it's like silence, and you're going, oh shit. Like what's happening behind that door has got to be terrifying, right?
Yep. And they've redone that scene like in every 10 movie since then, and I mean, you're never going to recreate the feeling.
And then there's also the point when he hangs her on the meat hook, and and like the scene is so. It's almost like, did they really hang this chick on a meat hook? Which obviously did not do that, but
I mean, yeah,
it feels like how someone would react to getting hung on a meat hook while they're still alive.
Do you know what that is? That's good acting.
Yes. Well, okay,
because the screaming was not the crap screaming of these movies they make nowadays. That movie made you feel like you were right there and it was real.
So now we'll talk about me meeting Gunnar Hansen.
Yes, please do.
So we used to go to this. Did you ever go to the tattoo horror convention with us?
No, but I wish I would have.
Yeah. So
I've only been to one convention with you where we met Lloyd Kaufman.
Yes,
which was awesome.
It was awesome.
He was a dick.
He was a dick. Yeah, I think that's kind of his thing.
It is.
That's his.
I don't know if you ever watched any of the Trauma.
The
behind the scenes.
We'll get into the Trauma in a sec too. Dude, I spent like years of my life watching.
You were getting
that
tattoo and
when
we were hanging.
So, I meet Gunnar Hansen at this convention, and this convention is in Nashville, and they've started doing it again. We actually should, maybe next year when it happens, we should make it happen for sure.
Amazing.
So it's a tattoo/horror con. So it's like one of the big halls is set up with tattoo artists where you can actually get tattooed, and which I don't know with the Ronies. I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably not doing too many conventions with Rona.
And but the other parts are like mostly horror related, so they'll have like a lot of B-list actors.
Lena Quigley.
Yeah, but a lot of
we met her at that convention.
Yeah, but a lot of pretty decent named horror actors. Nothing. No like huge, A-list actors, but still a cool place. And then there's also like comic vendors and different stuff like that. So anyway,
I'm sure
the year that I went, man, it was huge, man. It was Gunnar Hansen was there, George Romero. Got to meet George Romero.
You met George
Romero?
I should smack you now.
Dude, And that was like I don't get starstruck, but man, talking to him was like, dude.
Yeah.
The godfather of the zombie genre is, right here.
Exactly.
Anyway, there was also the most of the crew from House of a Thousand Corpses. So
nice.
Ken Foray, Kit Sidhaig.
That was in Nashville?
Yeah. Bill Moseley. Who else? Kane Hodder was there.
Nice.
Doug Bradley that played Pinhead, who's like super British, and I didn't know that. So I met him.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I meet Gunnar Hansen, and he's like, he's a giant of a man, and I think he's actually passed away since.
He has a couple of years ago. I think now.
Rest in power, Leatherface. But he's a giant dude. But when I met him, he's like silver haired, silver beard. He looks like someone's granddad.
Yeah,
and he's such a nice guy, and he was such a sweetheart. And I got this really cool signed 8x10 of him, and it's a production photo of he was taking a break on the set, but he didn't take his mask and stuff off, and he's like sitting. It was such a cool picture because it was almost like Leatherface in a vulnerable moment.
Yeah,
and he's like sitting down with like the hammer, like this hammer in like the wash tub, and he's like and he looks sad. And there's like all the stuff hanging from the ceilings. It's on set. And I was like, that's such a badass picture.
No doubt.
And so he signed it and put like, you're next or something, whatever.
Oh, nice.
Super nice guy, man. But he told me, I was like, dude, obviously I'm like, this is my favorite horror movie. You scared the shit out of me. And he's like, good. He's like, job well done, And he said on the set that Tobe Hooper was like, hey, I want to get you in your costume and makeup and everything. He's like, but I don't want any of the actors to see you before the scenes. So some of the reactions to him are legitimately their first time seeing him.
That makes sense.
And that's awesome. I was like, that's badass.
Genuine fear. And
yeah, so when you see this, he's like 6'5", 6'6".
I knew he was a big man. You just see, I've heard tale that he was a big man.
When he comes out, you can imagine that obviously they know that it's part of the movie, but it's like, oh shit, And so some of those reactions were somewhat genuine in the respect that they had never seen him, and I think that's super cool. Like I was nerding out really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Some really funny stuff happened during that. So that was the same. I think that was the same year, and I have told this story because it was on Kim. The first episode was she the first?
Candyman.
Second episode.
Yeah, the
Candyman story
God.
that happened at the same convention.
I laughed my ass off when I listened to that.
Dude, all I'm saying is,
I bet he's a nice guy too.
Oh,
though.
super nice guy.
I bet he is.
Yeah, Tony Todd is a sweetheart as well. But when he walked up behind me in a mirror in a bathroom, I was like, "What the fuck is going on right now?" It was terrifying, And I handled it the only way I knew how, and
by shitting his pants.
Yeah, exactly. And, no.
Ditched my underwear, went out there, and had a good time.
I'm good. Yeah.
But, and then there was this other moment. So Ken Foray, who plays the protagonist from Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead.
Love that movie. Love George Romero.
Tall, black dude. He's also in, was he in House of, no, he was in Devil's Rejects. I ain't no chicken fucker, the black guy he's talking to when he's there, and he is like an old school pimp. Like he has, like, I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend or what it was, what relation she was to him, but she's like this older white lady, and I say older, they're about the same age. He's an older dude now, but she was just like bringing him whiskey drinks and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Like it was like his sugar mama or something. And at some point we were all in line and we were near their booth, and I don't remember what we were waiting for. It was a group of us, and someone in that area completely shit their pants. And it was one of those like farts where you're like, oh my God. And like everybody it was like hitting everyone different. And it was like, oh. And everybody's looking around. I'm like, it wasn't, dude, I would claim that. I was like, somebody claim this because this is brutal. And it hits Ken Foray, and he goes, damn, somebody shit, baby. It was my favorite reaction ever. And I was like, and he like, and then Sid Haig, who plays Captain Spaulding, goes, God damn. And he just leaves. And we're just, everyone's laughing. It's crazy. Someone had shit the entire arena, and it was, so that was a good moment. And then George Romero,
that would be something.
I had this shirt on. I made this shirt that was made after, this quote gets attributed to different people, but I think Pete Rose might have said it. it's a baseball player said it, but it gets attributed to like 2 or 3 different baseball players.
I know who Pete Rose is to a degree.
So, and they said half of baseball is 90% mental. You're like, wait, what?
What?
Half of baseball is, so like 45% of baseball?
Don't get into math, man.
So yeah, so it's such a quote that doesn't make any sense. So I made a shirt that said half of drinking is 90% McCaskill. And I was wearing that shirt.
Nice.
And I meet George Romero. He is like the sweetest dude ever. Like, I mean, he's just so nice.
You never saw him be anything but sweet in the documentaries and whatnot. He's always so nice and just quiet.
And he was so happy to meet everyone, and he was like willing to talk about the movies.
I mean, anybody who is in that business and doesn't just absolutely love their fans is a fool.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You almost have to. Yeah.
Yes.
So he sees my shirt after we meet, and he's like, "Are you McCaskill?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I like that a lot." He's like, "That's hilarious." And I was like, "Yeah." And he knew like the quote it was from, and like that I had done the thing, and I was like, George Romero,
you're my hero.
Gave me props on a shirt, on a stupid ass shirt I made. I like it. And it was just really cool. I got a picture of me and him, and I aspire to one day have George Romero glasses when I get older. You know, the big old.
You still got about 30 years.
Sure,
you're
sure.
Fine.
So
you can live in the a little give it time.
A little
you
tidbit.
give it time. It's gonna come back anyways.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
a little tidbit about. I don't know if it was on Night of the Living Dead or on Dawn of the Dead is when it started, but they would use like beef organs and stuff for like the fake gore. You know, they would actually use like a cow liver or something like that. And anyone who would actually when the zombies were like pretending to eat, anyone who actually like took a bite of the gnarly stuff they had would get paid, like the extras.
Wasn't it like $100?
Yeah, they would get they would get paid like $100 extra, like the zombie extras or whatever. And I was like, that's a nice little incentive.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Little bonus, little zombie bonus.
Yep.
Night of the Living Dead is one of the most amazing movies, and it took me until I was probably 1920 before I even saw it.
Well, I didn't understand when I was younger and saw it why it was such a big deal.
It's really not scary, really.
Well, until someone kind of broke it down, and 1968, I believe, is when it was made. And
I think that's right. That's right.
And it had a black protagonist.
That's right.
And that was huge, man. And the narrative of that movie, you start to understand that it's not about zombies. Yep. It's about us.
Exactly.
Like that whole bit when all the zombies. So even the 1990 remake, that I think was it Savini that did that remake.
Was that 1991? But yeah, it was Savini.
Yeah. So that remake is still a solid flick.
Oh, it's a good movie.
And
they changed it completely.
It really encapsulates though that whole like when the yeehaw hunting parties like going out, and it's almost like you almost start to have empathy for the zombies. Right?
Yes.
And you go like, oh shit, like you
really do.
Like we're the monsters or whatever. And I know that sounds cliche and like, oh, whatever, but it's such a beautiful like.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's such a good way to get that point across that you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the zombies are mindless. What's our excuse?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
But honestly, aren't we all a little mindless?
Yeah.
I mean,
But to mask it as just this like gory zombie movie.
Oh.
And then series of movies.
Yeah.
So then, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, which I love a lot. I love that original trilogy, especially. Land of the Dead is like...
it's all right. It's okay. I mean, it's not... I honestly have never... Past Day of the Dead, I never really counted them. I knew they were part of the series, but I never really counted them as the originals. I mean, like Star Wars. I mean, the original 3.
Sure.
You really can't count the new ones or the prequels.
Because the originals...
they're good enough for their time.
Yeah, but the original Dead trilogy is Night, Dawn, and Day.
That's it.
Right? And they're not even...
And I mean, you call it a trilogy.
They're not even technically sequels, which I love about that.
Exactly.
It's just the...
But they're still all part of the same...
Yeah. And you get to kind of see as the years pass. So I think because Dawn would have been... Oh, man.
I think the way it was actually, the way I understood it is, Dawn is actually first,
right?
And then
chronologically,
then actually Night is next, and then Day would be years down the line,
right? But I can't remember,
maybe months.
I don't remember what year Dawn came out and all that, but either way, if you would ask me this 10 years ago, I could have named off every year, every whatever. So.
It's called old age.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, one of my favorites. And then they did the remake, and I was a little worried, right? Because I thought, I don't think, because to me, Dawn of the Dead was perfect.
Yes.
So it's like, why are we remaking a perfect movie?
Yeah, don't get me started on the remake thing.
So,
Fuck.
No, really.
But I'll say this: the remake of Dawn of the Dead is a good movie.
It is.
Now, here's how I had to. This is what I had to do in my brain to separate it. It was not. To me, it was just a different movie.
Yes.
And I approached it as a different movie.
That's how I do.
But it was very good. Dude, like the zombie baby and all that shit.
Oh, my God.
Like they actually, and spoiler alert,
Yes.
because if you haven't seen it, it's fucking
You're goddamn fault.
20 years old or whatever, or 16 years old. Was that Zack Snyder that did that, by the way?
I think it was.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that name.
And then they actually like
sticks
kill
with
the fucking zombie baby.
Yeah,
and
no,
you're like, I don't know. And people say you couldn't do that today. Like, I don't know. You probably could.
Oh, yeah, you definitely can. They had zombie babies in the vampire show on Netflix.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
In the Dracula.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy fuck. It was one of the creepiest things in the whole show.
Yep. So, but yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I watched it. I know I listened to you guys talk about it, and I wanted to watch it.
You should.
I think I did.
It's solid, yeah.
Now I'm trying to remember. I watched too many movies.
Yeah, it's super solid. We got to get back on the B-sides train, too, of like watching movies and doing some review stuff.
Two movies, and I'm gonna say it again. I know I've put it on your page because I'm a super fan.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Yeah. You need to talk about, if you haven't already watched, Hardcore Logo.
Yeah, I've got actually wrote it down or put it in my.
Have you ever seen it?
My phone. I haven't. No.
Oh my God, I don't even know if you can find it. To be honest with you, it's one of those movies that's so hard you can't even find anything about it hardly on like
how old is
YouTube. At least 15 to 20 years old. Hey, to be honest with you, remember when I had my mohawk?
Yeah.
It was because of that movie.
Okay.
And then you guys got me like listening to punk music and
right on.
and I mean everything just went from there.
Are we the reason that you turned out the way you did?
Oh no, I was fucked up in the first place.
I was like, dude, I'm sorry.
You had a slight influence, but I was already there.
You did. I ain't gonna. You guys introduced me to a lot of music because at the time I listened to a lot of 60s music. 50s and 60s was my big thing. And then I started hanging out with y'all. And
That's interesting. So I have a pretty extensive background in that music only because my grandmother, I think it was my mom's mom, if I'm remembering this correctly, she had one of those old like console style record players.
Yeah,
like the giant ones that had like the speakers built in and they had the cabinet space underneath. And the record player was on top, and it even had I think it even had like a AM/FM tuner.
Oh, more than likely, yeah.
But she had a bunch of old doo-wop records, so I would sit around and listen to all these old doo-wop like acts on these records, and so and that's kind of like the draw to like. I mean, that's an easy transition to me, especially being younger at the time. It was an easy transition from that to like the Ramones and stuff.
Yeah, it really exactly.
It was just a very fast version of it, right?
And I think that's why the Ramones was my first. I mean, the Ramones, and then I got into the Sex Pistols, and then kind of moved into the Dead Kennedys, and then it was like a transition, you know.
Yeah, the Misfits are kind of like a
exactly. They're very
unpolished. And even some of those horror bands, like there was a band called Mr. Monster.
Yep.
They even
I have the CD still.
Yeah. Well, they even brand themselves as New Jersey Boo Wop.
Is that where they were from?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I had one of their CDs. And,
from the land of the Misfits.
What was the they were a cover band at first, right?
Well, I don't even know the whole history.
I think that's the story I was told is that they were cover band Misfits, and then they just kind of started doing their own thing.
I was wearing a Mr. Monster shirt one time, and someone thought it was a Mr. shirt. Take these broken wings and learn to fly.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, I was like, they were like, is that a Mr. shirt? And I was like, no, but now I want one.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so, no, but yeah, I used to listen to a shitload of doo-wop, and I think that was an easy transition because musically, doo-wop was very easy. To me, doo-wop was like the vocals is what made it so good.
Yes.
Was the difficult part, like the harmonies. And so punk rock, like I don't think a lot of punk rock guitarists get the credit they deserve because they don't play like crazy technical solos.
Exactly.
But dude, Johnny Ramone
was amazing.
Insane guitarist.
From what I understand, he didn't even do the up. He was always down. It was always a down stroke. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. And I mean that I when I was trying to learn how to play guitar, I was trying to figure out how he did it.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah.
I'm amazed my wrist didn't fall off trying to do that because that's
That takes a lot of practice.
Hard.
A lot of practice. Yep.
And I mean, they knew what, like 3 main chords is what they used for most of their music.
Mostly, yeah.
But I mean, music is awesome.
Yep.
Even to this day.
And if you listen to, it's funny to listen to they had really good production for the Ramones albums.
Oh yeah.
If you listen to the live versions, they're like insanely more fast, like faster,
Yes.
more fast. That's not
More fast.
faster.
I think faster's probably faster.
I don't know how to talk good.
We might all be real stupid, but I'm pretty sure faster's the right way to say that.
So, they're faster. And the story I heard, and I don't know, this might be complete bullshit, was at the time they were recording, the click track in the studio would only go so high. So they couldn't get to the the BPM, beats per minute they wanted to get to. So, once again,
it's a possibility.
That might be complete trash.
Hey, you know what? It's a good story.
Sure.
It sounds good.
Right.
It sounds really
But
good.
if you listen to their live stuff, it's like
It's faster.
way faster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Blistering
But I mean,
speeds, so.
listen to songs like Warthog. I mean, that sucker was
Oh yeah.
flying.
Oh yeah.
You know.
On a sidebar, I think it's a good thing to bring up. Everybody talks about how the Ramones weren't really musically talented in a way, but they were in their own way.
Yeah.
They
right?
were insanely talented.
And you
yeah.
can't deny them because, one, they were a giant success, so fuck all of you. Right? At the
Exactly.
end of the day, if you have a criticism of it, it's the same thing with the Misfits. They were terrible musicians, kind of, but look at how much success they had.
So-
Well, I mean,
at the end of the day,
we'll get into something outside of the punk genre. Kiss is not an exceptional band.
they were
Oh yeah, their
entertainers,
show, the live
but
shows
the
where
show.
they make their money. Yeah.
But I'll bring it back to writing. You were saying how bad you were at editing because you know what I mean. You just didn't have the background in it and that sort of thing, and so you're not confident in that. But as long as you're creative, with all the technology we have,
Yeah.
just voice to text it, and then get somebody else to edit it because anyone can be a writer if you have a story to tell.
I've got my friend Michael Vincent. He is unfortunately he's from the same school as me, but he was definitely better at English. He does not speak it as good as me, but you know. But you know,
he Englished gooder than you.
he Englished much gooder than
Yeah.
me, and so he has taken, and we have always been kind of on a same wavelength on stuff, except for movies and Supernatural. Michael, I hope you're listening. We will fight.
Is Supernatural good or bad? I need to know.
I like Supernatural.
Oh, okay.
I really like Supernatural.
It went
but
about
there was
43 seasons too long.
Yeah, I think it's gone on too long.
I think it really has. I've not watched. I have been trying to watch this season. This season was better than the last couple.
I enjoyed the
But-
first like 5 or 6
Exactly,
seasons, and then I was just
exactly.
like, it was like some kind of fatigue set in where I was like, okay,
I wish I
Yeah.
could agree. I didn't enjoy any of it, but
You
that's
didn't like it. You didn't like it.
I just it's just
Well,
not my thing.
He was trying to
Josh
write.
is an old asshole sometimes.
I mean,
but-
you know, that's
I'm not saying
we're not
anybody
going to
else.
hold it
how
against you.
dare you have an opinion?
No,
Just
nobody
wipe
else.
every once in a while, okay?
I'm a if you like it, enjoy it, and tell everybody else to fuck off kind of
Yeah,
guy.
exactly.
And just because I don't like it doesn't mean you shouldn't like it. But
Exactly.
I just couldn't get into it. It was I like some cheesy things to where they're it's a little cheesy at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Like the 100 is a little badly written.
I
Sometimes.
couldn't get past the first few episodes.
But-
I really wanted to love that
But
show.
those CW shows are hit and miss
Yes.
for everyone,
Really?
right?
A lot
the
of them, 'cause-
Arrowverse, there's good and there's bad.
Well, a lot of them are like teeny bopper or
Yes,
soap operas.
a lot of them.
You know,
But the thing about the 100 that always drew me in was the impossible situations that they put all the teenagers in, and you could not make a good decision. It was like, what bad decision do we go with? And that always fascinated me. And then it went on too long, like most network shows
That- it
tend to
happens a
do
lot. It
that
happens.
end up being successful. They don't end them early enough.
Well, I mean, really, it's all about the car with Supernatural. I'm just
yeah.
saying.
that is a
You know-
nice
you
car.
know,
What is it, an Impala? Or something?
67 Impala.
My girlfriend she's a huge super fan of the show. So, I mean, like me talking shit might get me kicked in the nuts later. But at the end of the day, I got to be honest here.
Yep.
I couldn't like it. You know
And
what
see,
I mean?
that's the great thing about the human race. We don't
Everyone.
have to agree.
Oh yeah,
You
because
don't.
sometimes I'm just a contrary asshole anyway.
Oh, that's me
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
and that's not. I'm not. That's probably for worse. But I mean, it just is what it
I'll
is.
devil's
sometimes.
advocate the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I was just coming back to say that like just because you think you're not proficient at the technical side of something doesn't mean you don't have something to contribute.
That's right. That's right.
Like I think if you've got an idea, just get it out any way you know how, and then look for somebody who's good at the thing you're not good at to help you.
I'd like to point out first off, I have to tell the end of the story to Michael. A reason he's got an issue is because he wouldn't listen to me. And he was writing a story, and I was like, well, this is a lot like Supernatural. No, I won't watch that show. So I'm like, go screw yourself, whatever. And you know what? I'll go do my own thing. I don't even want to talk to you. You suck. Not because the show was incredibly, the best thing in the world. The car is. But I like the show. And I was trying to explain that there are similarities. It took him getting a new girlfriend that likes the show before he would watch it. I mean, that was a big thing. Just to watch it. Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, this is the greatest show ever. I'm like, Durr.
That's how we I was telling McCaskill about it the other day. Fairly high thoughts sometimes. I found some new music and I tried to introduce it to a bunch of people, and everyone's reaction is different, and none of them are the reaction I had that I wanted everyone else to have when they heard it.
Yep.
Right? Because when somebody tells you to listen to something, it's not the same thing as you discovering it, and you don't listen to it as intently as they intend for you to listen to it.
And I think there's probably varying degrees of that, because it depends on how organically you discovered it too. Yes. Like, was it recommended to you? Did you stumble upon it because you were listening to another station?
Yes.
Things like that. So, because some of the ones that hit me are the ones that go or stuff I've never even heard of, and it just pops up on my Spotify playlist because I'm listening to something similar.
Yes.
And I go, wait, what the hell is this?
I love finding music that way.
Then you go, hey, dude, you got to listen to this fucking song.
And they just don't
I've been trying to do that to you. Yeah. I've been trying to get you. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to anything. Went and saw Soul Asylum in concert back in February before everything went to hell. And
right before.
We went to see Mark Normand right before.
We did.
I mean, it had to have been similar because it was in February, and I mean, everything just went right after that.
Oh, yeah.
But
it was like a week later or 2 weeks later that our shit popped off, and we go,
The other band they both of them released a new album this year. The other band was Local H. And I only ever knew one song by this band. It was Bound to the Floor.
I remember
the Copacetic song.
Were they like a 90s group?
Yes. And so they
were they in that whole grunge scene, or were they
yes. They did a song called Eddie Vedder and Bound to the Floor. Those were the California song High Five and Motherfucker, which is just hidden, I'm telling you. And the thing is, it's only the guitar player, singer, and a drummer. It's a two-piece band. And they are amazing. They got a new album, Lifers, and I have tried to push it on everybody.
Sure.
Because, I need friends, and, so I try to try to push my stuff on.
The Black Keys, they're super successful, obviously.
Yes.
But they're only a two-piece band.
Dude, I saw them.
Incredible.
This is crazy. When I saw them in Memphis a long-ass time ago, and it was in a small venue. They weren't anything back then.
Yeah.
And then years later, somebody was like, I saw a thing for the Black Keys playing Madison Square Garden, and I was like, what? And then I was like, Jesus. Literally saw them in a 50-person bar, and they were badass. It was great.
Exactly.
But it was just hey, congratulations, guys.
It's always
no doubt,
good
right?
to see them see a really good, cool thing make it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's all too often that, all the radio success and all of the mainstream success, almost always, we were talking about it today, we were going to the gas station to get some drinks, and the radio's awful all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
And so,
we were going to get some Energizer drinks.
And so, yeah. Old Energizer bunny drinks.
Yes.
I was just telling him that, how is it possible that the radio always sucks for the most part? Who is it?
Because nobody listens anymore.
Even when they did listen,
they download everything onto their phone.
All the music still sucked in the 90s on the radio for the most part, unless you had an alternative station, or something along those lines.
Which in a smaller area like we are, you probably didn't have.
And so, obviously that's biased because I don't like pop music for the most part, right? I'll admit that there are some pop artists that are very talented, just not my thing. Adele, that bitch can sing around.
Oh, good.
Ass
Yeah,
off, right?
yeah.
But at the end of the day, not my jam.
No.
That's my thing is but and I get it. I get why people like her, and I get why people and I don't shit on people like that anymore. I'm like, yeah, whatever, do your thing. But I hate
that's called getting older and wiser.
Yeah, well, that whole thing is to me, it's just because somebody can sing is I still have to feel something else.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something.
I want to bring this back around because you mentioned the Misfits earlier. I love listening to the Misfits, and it's one of the few bands that can make me if I'm having a shit day, can just put a smile on my face. And it's almost impossible because I am a musician and I'm not a very great musician. I think I'm a mediocre to
Hey, buddy,
like.
You held concerts with more than 2 people in the room.
Yeah, there was like at least 6 or 7.
Oh man, there was 40 or 50 people in that room.
There was the time I went. There was probably about that many.
I think that I can play okay, and especially if I'm with the right group, like we can have fun and play good music. Anyway, that's not my point. But as a musician, I do know people who are very good musicians, and I had a buddy of mine who's a very, very, very good musician, classically trained. Was like, "What? Why do you like the Misfits?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know if I can explain it to you, like because." If you listen to that old stuff, it's like it's slightly out of tune. Yep. The lyrics don't make any goddamn sense at all.
But they're awesome.
But then there's something about all that together that it just makes me happy. I don't know.
Soul Asylum, not a very popular band, and for as much as long as they've been around, they have a following.
Well, I can attest. I will say this.
Same
I will say this
H.
right now about Soul Asylum. The one track, obviously, everyone knew was "Runaway Train," but there was that other one,
Misery
Inc. Right? Is
just
that
Misery?
Misery. Mitchell, shout out to Mitchell Manley if you listen to this. Like that's our jam. Like that, I love that song. I think that song is like such a good song. And like I'm not a huge Soul Asylum fan, and it's not because it's mostly because of lack of just hearing. I don't know.
No, you don't know them,
but.
They've been around since '84, I think, and they were a punk band at first. Yeah. They weren't even
like the Goo Goo
They were
Dolls
made into a grunge band. Yeah. I mean, they didn't necessarily stand by that title. Sure. I mean, when they started, and that's just.
And the only reason I even lumped them into that genre is just because they were around, and that was like where they kind of fit. Yeah. Because they were kind of like. There was a lot of bands back then that didn't fit that mold, but they kind of just
lumped into it
because that's just what was around, like like Screaming Trees and
see the thing like was that I didn't listen to that stuff.
That label,
I was completely against listening to grunge or any of that. I was always, if it ain't from the 50s or 60s, it's probably not worth listening to. Then I started working on But Much Too Young to Care, and I literally wanted to make a soundtrack, so I started listening to all these 90s music, and I was like, damn it, I'm always behind, man. Why was I not listening to this back then? There's some great music here. Now, Soul Asylum, since I saw Clerks the first time, when they ended with Can't Even Tell, I was hooked.
Couple things. Speaking of 90s and soundtracks, I'm gonna say this one's a perfect soundtrack, 90s flick. The soundtrack to Angus.
Oh my God! I was literally thinking, is he going to say Angus right here?
What's in it? Because I've never listened to that soundtrack.
There's a Goo Goo Dolls song.
Oh, dude,
there's
there's
a Goo Goo Dolls song in every soundtrack.
Yeah. So some Green Day. Okay. There's some fucking. Let's just pull up the track list.
Yeah, do that.
So we can just.
Okay, I'm gonna have to put my top soundtracks out though. Clerks, Mallrats, Dazed and Confused.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
But one of my favorites. And it's kind of one of those, anytime you just want to feel decent, Empire Records. That was a good soundtrack.
Yes, it was.
Why don't you stick him up your ass? Because that would hurt a lot, Warren.
My name's not fucking Warren. Hey, his name's not fucking. I thought his name was Warren.
All right, hold on here.
Yeah, have you ever? Do you remember Angus?
I probably saw it back then.
Yeah, it's like a coming of age tale.
Yeah.
With a large kid
and a small kid, right?
Yeah. A real skinny kid and a real big kid. The real big kid is like the main character, the main protagonist of
All
the
right,
show.
so you had Jar by Green Day, which is a great song.
Okay, yeah.
You had Dance Hall Crashers on there. There was the Riverdales, which is one of my favorite. If you haven't listened to the Riverdales,
I probably have.
If you like the Ramones and you've never listened to the Riverdales, like you need to that needs to be your mission in life.
Okay, when I listen back to this, because I got to hear myself talk because
the Smoking
really
Popes, the Smoking Popes are really great. You should hear some of their stuff. There's some Weezer on there. There's some Goo Goo Dolls. There's the Muffs. The Muffs. Yeah. And there's some Pansy Division. I forgot that Pansy Division was on there.
That one, I don't know that one.
But yeah, just a great. It's like 12-track deal. But man,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's such a good soundtrack. Is that Mazzy Star track on there? Crash into me or crash into something.
I don't
crash
know.
some stuff.
Isn't that like their only big song?
So probably, but it's at the dance scene, and I don't know if it's on the soundtrack or not. But it's on the album I can't think of the name of it, but it's a good. That old Mazzy Star record's actually really good. Anyway, go download the Angus soundtrack.
Yeah. I'm going.
Listen to the Riverdales, man, because like I used to have a vinyl of them. I would even give it to you if I had my vinyl around here.
I gotta get a needle for my record player.
Yeah, but,
I promise you. I went to put in a Soul Asylum record the other day. I'm trying to get my kids addicted to my music because
It feels like that. Almost feels like an exercise in futility. I don't know sometimes it might work, but I feel like if you like, I don't know. It's something about a parent being like,
okay,
"Hey, this is cool."
You think that? You would think that, okay? But that's not necessarily true. See, my parents listened to country music when I was a kid. Now, I couldn't stand country music, especially in the 90s. That was terrible. Shania Twain could just
That's
bite
my shit.
butt.
The 90s shit.
Oh no, I couldn't handle it.
Give me some motherfucking Joe Diffie.
Yeah, there was some good music. There was but there was a lot of
Chattahoochee.
bad.
We'll crack open a cold beer.
Do you know from the 80s? So in the 80s, I listened to the country music with them because they chose the music. And now that I've gotten older, I find myself going back and listening to some of that old stuff.
You know what that is? That's nostalgia.
I know that son of a
nostalgia.
In a way, because pop
chloroforming your ass and dragging you back.
I hated almost all pop music just because I was a fucking teenager and was like, thought I was cool or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly wasn't. In the late 90s, early 2000s, that was my coming of age time. Now, if you put that pop music on the radio, I would fucking sing along to all of it, right?
And you're like, when did I learn this?
Every single bit of it I would sing along to, and I hated it back then.
You know what I busted out with in the shower the other day? Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
Dum, 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 dum.
We gonna fly.
Yep.
And fucking, I started singing the shit out of it.
Had no business.
And sorry, I just did that to everyone listening.
Hey,
by the way, I apologize.
Let some Ricky Martin come on the radio, or some, like Backstreet Boys. You couldn't have paid me money to sing Backstreet Boys and fucking NSYNC. But if it comes on now, it's just fun to sing along to because it's so ludicrous.
It's gonna be my ass.
See, I mean, it just is the past now, right?
Yes.
It's not the current present. It's no longer shitty.
It's also funny though when people. I hate the people that deny the cycles of things, like people that are our age now that are like, music in my day wasn't so silly. I'm like, do you remember the Macarena? You fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes, it was.
Or how inappropriate it would be. Like, I don't know, the Britney Spears coming out song, the one that was Hit Me Baby One More Time. That was like a 16 or 17-year-old girl singing that, y'all.
Yeah.
Completely fucking inappropriate.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like the thing is though, like there was some silly ass music in every cycle
and
ever.
It turns out
always
there's good music in every generation ever too.
Oh yes.
Because I get tired of people shit on the 80s.
There's some great music from the 80s.
Some of the best music ever.
My son Brody, he is right at this moment. It changes every day, but at the moment, Electric Avenue, he's addicted to that song.
That's my shit.
And I love that music. I mean, there was some great 80s music.
Dude, I will fucking jam out to some Electric Avenue.
I had it on my phone.
Your son is a man after my own heart.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, he is my son. There's no doubt. He is going to be like his daddy, and I feel bad for him.
Yeah, he's gonna be a piece of shit.
I got a confession because I think some of our bonding early on was over Kevin Smith movies and things like that. But confession time, when I first saw Clerks, I did not like it.
I'm not that far from you.
Now
I can hurt you.
Now it's because I was like, let's see, it came out in 94.
94, but I didn't watch it until after Mallrats came out. So I can't claim early.
We had gone over to a buddy's house or a buddy of a buddy's house or something. I don't remember when they were watching it. And I just wasn't in like the mood. And I was only like 13 or 14 at the time.
Okay.
So it was just
number
a year or two
one,
after
you
it came
know
out.
the black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Other than
it's an immediate turnoff.
It's a turnoff for teenagers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's probably why watching Mallrats first really was what pulled me in because I watched Mallrats first, and then I found out there was something else.
Sure. So watched it and was like, what the fuck did I just watch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we weren't even really like, we were talking.
You weren't watching.
And
Exactly.
And I was just like, whatever, that movie. And then same thing, I saw Mallrats pretty much right after it came out. Like, but I didn't go to the theater or nothing. But I saw it VHS, yeah.
Heck yeah.
And so I was like, oh, and loved it. And then they were like, oh, this movie Clerks, he also did. And I was like, wait, I think we saw that, and I hated it. So then I rewatched it, and I was like, what the fuck was wrong with me?
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. And so that, kind of kindled my true love for Kevin Smith movies.
Right.
And, and even some of the ones in that first lump of them that people would kind of go, like, I don't know, like Chasing Amy, I thought was great.
Chasing Amy is literally, and I use the word literally quite a bit, but I will have to say, I saw that movie at the Winchester Mall in Memphis. I don't know if it was opening night, but I literally went in there in the mall in Memphis. I mean, none of that even exists.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not the mall in Memphis, but the Winchester Mall. I mean, the movie theater was closed up.
Yeah.
Like, they put a Spencer's where it was.
Sure.
Before they closed up. Well, the mall's still there, but for something else now. But we went in there, and it was like a wave of perfect just washed over me. I'm like, I want to be a writer-director.
Yeah.
This is my calling. This is what I want. Now, I obviously had to take a step back on the directing part because, small town, no.
But some of my favorite lines come from that movie.
Oh, yeah.
What's a Nubian?
What is a Nubian?
And also...
Bitch, you almost...
one of my favorite moments is when they walk in and he's got the comic and he's like, Archie is not fucking Mr. Weatherby.
Yes.
He's just helping him with his homework.
Deny.
Read between the lines, bitch. Like, it's such a good line. And like, that is when I was like, okay, Kevin Smith is good at like writing.
He is dialogue.
But yeah.
He is great at dialogue.
If you've ever heard him speak, he's good at dialogue.
Yes.
Like, he can just literally ramble, and it's fascinating no matter what.
Dude, the opening of Mallrats, when he's like, when he's telling the story about the gerbil,
yes,
and all that, and that's the opening monologue to that movie, and you're like, what is going on? He's like, yeah, my Uncle Walt got this gerbil. Cousin Walt. Yeah,
yeah.
Cousin Walt got this gerbil stuck in his ass, and yada yada, and he's like, it was a whole fiasco. They get it out. He's like, it happened again. And he's like, I saw him at the pet store. He's looking at gerbils. I'm like, Jesus, Walt, you're just gonna get this gerbil stuck in your ass. What are you doing? He's like, no, he's a cat.
He's buying a cat. Yeah,
buying a cat. He's like, Jesus, she's just gonna get stuck in your ass. What are you doing? He's like, Brody, how else am I going to get the gerbil out?
Yeah.
So it was actually a cat. Got a cat stuck in his ass.
Got a cat
I
stuck in
fucked
his
the whole
ass
story
twice,
up. I'm like, I'm such a fan, and I fucked that whole story up, and I'm sorry.
I mean, we all have our moments. Yeah. We can't all be Kevin
I am
Smith.
so ashamed. Shame. Like when Cersei's walking through the streets.
Yeah.
Shame.
Walk of shame.
Yeah. Anyway, but so yeah, when I first saw Clerks, I was like not a fan because I was too young, I think.
Yeah, I think that, honestly,
it's kind of the same thing I did with.
It probably would have been the same for me.
It's the same thing I did with Seinfeld. I hated Seinfeld when I was like really young, and then I realized, and we don't have to share this opinion, but I think it's like one of the most brilliant shows ever made.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really watch it, but the part where Kramer comes in and says that sees that ugly baby, that kills me.
Oh, dude,
every time.
That whole show, I think, is perfectly written, and I was so bummed that people because Seinfeld did a new comedy special on Netflix, and I already knew it was not going to be most people's cup.
Oh yeah, no.
And people were just trashing him, and I was like,
all over.
And I was like, dude, like, no, stop, like, just because you.
I'll be honest with you, I really think his type of comedy is passé.
Sure,
that's the problem.
But the thing is,
but you're feeling nostalgia, so you can watch this and enjoy it for the time frame.
Because I do think he is a genuinely great comedy writer.
Oh, yeah.
I think his new special was good. I just don't think that. Like, I've never been as big a fan of his stand-up comedy as I was the show.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't think he wrote the show either, though. He was just...
Yeah.
A lot of Well, he wrote a lot of the show. Him and Larry David were like...
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Larry David was did the majority of the writing on it.
But a lot of comics talk shit about Seinfeld because he doesn't ever make specials. He doesn't record his material, and he's been using
we know why.
He's been using a lot of the same shit for 20 years.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so they were like, come on, man, what are you doing? And that's another problem. Like, why does everybody have to standardize the way that everyone else does?
Right, and I think...
If he wants to not ever record a special and be able to tour with the same material for 20 years, why should...
Hey, if he's still getting people coming in and they still are laughing and listening to him, go for it, man.
A lot of comics would argue that he's just not as funny
Oh no, I don't think that's true at all.
Because I think a lot of them would say that he's one of the greats in his own way. He's just not as funny as a lot of the contemporary comics because he's just he's not the same kind of comic as a modern comic.
Yeah. Have you ever seen?
I mean, that's it.
Have you ever watched the comedians in cars getting coffee?
Dude, that show is.
I have. I know it's on there. I've seen
brilliant show.
The Norm Macdonald episode is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And there's this one scene where they're sitting in the diner and they're drinking the coffee and eating their food, and Norm's like, "Oh yeah, what's your?" And he's talking about one of Seinfeld's. I don't know if Seinfeld has kids. He has a grandkid or something, but he's like, "What's their name?" And he names a name, and Seinfeld corrects him because it's clearly he knows the name. Yeah. And Norm goes, "I agree to disagree." And it's the funniest shit. And Seinfeld just dies. He's like, "Okay, you son of a bitch."
Norm, meanwhile, is I don't care about your opinion. He's one of the greats of all time.
I've said this on the podcast before, and I will say it again because my opinion will not change. Norm Macdonald, hands down, the funniest human living right now. Hands down.
I'm not going to disagree.
He is. That dude is so fucking funny.
I laughed so much on his Netflix show, the one where he's like a talk show host, and it's like
when they do the jokes and they make other people read.
Oh my god, dude! It's so bad in so many ways, but it's so funny the way he gives zero fucks, and he loves to sit in uncomfortable moments that and the reason I love it is because I could never pull that off. Well, right? I could never sit in those uncomfortable moments.
What Norm Macdonald does, and it's beautiful every time. Norm Macdonald is probably the smartest guy in the room, but he plays the dumb guy.
Yes.
And when he tells his jokes, you're like, holy shit, this is so good. And he'll do these like super long build-ups. Super long. Like there's one joke he tells, it's like 12 minutes of build-up. And it's like one of the cheesiest punchlines. But the way he did the story, it's so good, man. I could go on and on. And,
yeah.
Suck Norm Macdonald off all day on the podcast because it's, I do think he's the funniest.
We all have someone.
Yep.
We all have someone.
But like he has that bit about his dad dying. And he was talking about, and which is not funny, right? Like,
no, shouldn't be.
Your dad dying's not funny. And he's like, my dad's heart attacked him. And he's like, he was in bed and his heart attacked him. And he's on the floor. The ambulance shows up and they get out the defibrillator and they try to shock him because all the heart understands is violence. And he's like, they can't get him, and he passes away. And they say, hey, you have those people. Hey, he's in a better place. He's like, hey, he's not. He's on the floor dead. He was in his bed a few minutes ago, sleeping. Now he's dead on the floor. And it's just like, oh.
And he's about to go in the ground, which is way worse than where he was a minute ago.
But yeah, the whole bit was so good. And it's much better than that. I'm definitely not doing it justice. And
I mean, you can't retell a joke and get the same,
especially a Norm Macdonald joke. It's just
he's such a unique character, right? Well, I mean, like he is, and I don't even think he's a character. I just think that's his personality, and he just got lucky and found an outlet for it, right? I mean, like I don't know about lucky because he's obviously brilliant, and he went to do exactly what he was meant to do.
Sure.
At the end of the day.
So I do want to get some opinions since we brought up the Kevin Smith stuff.
Oh yes, right.
So obviously the core. The movies. So you got Clerks, you got Mallrats, you got Chasing Amy, you've got Dogma, then you've got
Clerks 2.
Well, then you have Jay and Silent Bob.
You got Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, Reboot.
Those are like the
core viewist universe. Yeah.
So of course he then. So this is where I fell off, and I need to rewatch it because someone was like, "You need to rewatch it now and kind of look at it from through a different lens." I did not like Jersey Girl.
I like Jersey Girl, but I'm pretty open to most things that I watch. And, at that time, I was really wanting to be a writer. And and I saw it as if it was a different thing for him.
Sure.
And
so, and it might be what it was. I wanted more.
You wanted more of the classics.
Of the other stuff. Yeah. And I can admit that. So I probably want to revisit that.
Maybe not. The thing is, you don't have to.
Sure. Well,
you don't. And that's the nice thing about it. You could probably go back and watch it and sit there and think the same thing.
I don't know that I would, though. That's what I'm saying. That's why I do want to revisit it. Because
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Well, it's also,
I'll be honest with you.
I don't even remember the movie. Like, I can tell you, like,
There was a Sweeney Todd moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I can tell you like one or two things about that. I don't remember.
George Carlin is still the most amazing part of that.
Yeah, well,
movie.
I've never seen it at all.
You've never seen it?
No, I've never seen it.
You should. Okay, well, I mean,
watch,
you're in the same house. You can't deny it now.
Yeah, we sleep in the same bed. We might as well watch a movie.
We sleep on the same futon, and it's just no.
It's a little tight.
So
that's what I said.
All right, okay, you degenerates. So
hey, we're talking Kevin Smith. What can you do?
Red State, I liked a lot.
Red State was an amazing.
Oh
movie.
my God, what a surprise!
The ending, I was depressed.
I thought it was cool.
I mean, it was like perfect for that story. It was perfect for that story. But I'm sitting here at the end of the movie going, spoilers? Should I spoil? Should I say
no? I don't want any because so
if
many
you haven't
people
seen
have
it,
not
watch it.
seen
You've
it.
got to watch it. I mean, it got me though. It got me
because I was like, everybody's like, new Kevin Smith movie. I was like, Kevin Smith movie, and then I started watching.
And the thing is, it is nothing.
And
like
I was
Kevin
just
Smith
like,
movie.
what is happening? When is this going to get funny?
Yep.
And it turns out it doesn't.
It does not.
It doesn't get funny.
It does not.
It's not a comedy.
It's no fun. Yeah.
It's like it's a thriller horror movie basically,
Absolutely.
and it's brilliant.
I don't even know if you'd call it horror as much as you would call maybe.
It's just a bad time.
Suspense.
I think it's definitely a horror movie. Like,
you want to call it horror? Okay, I'll go with it.
Because some of the deaths in that is like, fuck. Like,
but I mean,
not only that
doesn't necessarily call horror.
I'm
though.
scared of all of what happened in that movie.
I mean,
that's terrifying.
It was terrifying.
So that's why I think you could.
No, wasn't it based after that real church? Basically, it was
Westboro.
Yeah,
it was definitely kind of
an attack on them, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean,
a satirization. No,
somebody else.
Something. Anyway, I haven't seen Tusk.
Oh my God, you've not seen Tusk?
Yeah,
have you seen Tusk?
I've seen. I've
heard some real mixed stuff about it. And
whoa, you have to watch it just to watch it.
I watched the other one with his daughter.
Do you Yoga Hosers?
Yeah. I haven't seen that one.
My older son. I should not have let him sit there and watch that. But what were they? Bratwurst Nazis?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude!
Scared the mess out of my son. Oh my God, I still feel bad because every once in a while he'll just bring it up. Is it going to be like those? I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a kid who's named after a character from Jaws, loves the movie Jaws. But those bratwurst Nazis were terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so funny because they're so over the top and crazy, right? And
insane.
Well, I don't even know what bratwurst Nazi means, so I definitely got to.
Oh my
watch this
God,
movie. I don't know.
Dude!
Yoga hosers.
Here's a kicker.
Doesn't even sound
he
good.
literally made it so his daughter could feature in a film.
Oh,
yes, that's it. I mean, that was literally it. You know that's what it was.
Yeah,
but
Johnny Depp's daughter is co-main,
and Johnny Depp is in it.
Okay,
and you honestly may not.
You don't notice
catch
that it's Johnny
real quick
Depp.
that it's Johnny Depp. And you're sitting there, you're watching, you're like.
You know how Johnny Depp be? He be hiding sometimes. Like he's an actor.
Yes. I mean, he wanted the whole nose thing and everything. He wanted that extra stuff.
He took part in ruining a really great movie. So
which one?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. To be honest.
And Alice in Wonderland.
Don't hate me, but I kind of liked that.
I didn't hate the Alice in Wonderland. I wish that they would have just created a different movie and allowed him to play that crazy character.
Yeah.
Because I think he's brilliant in most things that he does.
Yeah.
In his own little way, right? His own little eccentric way. And he
eccentric
plays,
is the right word for Johnny Depp.
He basically plays the same character in everything, but it's always just a slight. It's like 4 degrees off from the last one.
Yes, I agree.
You know, the pirate is the same as the Mad Hatter, is the same as the Tonto, is the you know what I mean? Is the same. They're all the same fucking.
Oh,
character.
I definitely haven't seen Lone Ranger.
I didn't see.
You didn't
all
watch
of
it?
No.
It's another one of those movies that I like.
Guilty pleasure. Yeah.
I kind of like it. Yeah.
Oh, no hate.
I mean, he's actually pretty damn funny, and there's little jokes that are just something that's said in
Let's
passing,
be honest,
and it's funny.
Fear and Loathing.
I've never seen it.
He's playing the same character.
What?
I've never seen it. Can you believe that crap?
Great movie.
I have. There was one of those free stations because I don't like paying people, but it was on there, and I'm sitting there going, well, I'm going to watch this because I mean I've got what is it? Viva Las Vegas by the Dead Kennedys, and it literally opens with him. His dialogue from that movie. You know,
when they do that fucking ether, they try to walk into the casino. Oh man,
I've got to watch it. No, I know that is definitely. And it was on a free site, and I was like, okay, this is one of the movies I'm gonna put in here. I'm gonna watch it. And that sucker, they closed that damn site down. I was like, well, ain't that crap? And I'm, you know.
So I haven't seen Yoga Hosers.
I
watched the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and we kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So it's one of those things where, if we're being honest, looking back,
he made it for him.
Of course, but Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back wasn't a great movie. You know,
no, it wasn't. No.
But it was definitely like it's
funny.
It's enjoyable. So I mean,
it's funny.
I say it's a good movie, but it's not like a
great.
Yeah,
You wouldn't recommend it to just everyone.
No,
right?
Well, I mean,
it's dick and fart jokes. And
that's it. I mean, he never grew up. Maybe is the word I'm looking for.
Well, but
that's not true. You watch something like Red State, and you're like, this guy's got it. I mean, he's got it in him. But when he does View Askew movies, they're very dick and fart jokes.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
immature.
No,
and I think honestly, most of us have that in us.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah. No
but
doubt.
if you just stand around here for an hour or two, I mean, there's going to be some really immature jokes to be said. We're just all kind of ashamed to say them out loud to the world, right? You say them in small, private moments with people you trust, and then you go.
In this day and age, who else can you say anything like that to?
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard.
But even so, like even if the world wasn't as PC as it is now, I don't think most people would go out in public and say the things that we say in private. Right. And that's basically what those movies are. They are the jokes you would tell your friends in private moments in movie form.
So all the people that do that are like, okay, this is our movie or whatever.
Yes.
So that's basically what my biggest
critique of Jay and Silent Bob reboot is that Jason Mewes has lived hard.
Yeah.
And it shows, and like he looks a lot better than he has in the past. But
it's those new teeth, new teeth throwing you off.
Sure, but that's just the thing is like it almost feels like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean,
and that's fine.
Yeah, no, it really does.
But it was like,
I mean, you can tell a difference just between Strikes Back and Reboot. You can tell a difference in the character.
Reboot. I wanted to go to Chattanooga to do a.
I wanted to too, but
that was as close as they got to us. But
life responsibilities get
I actually looked into I actually asked you about maybe going, and I just never pulled the trigger on it.
I heard that they didn't sell out right away either. You probably could have got tickets.
He was on. The reason I even knew about it is because when he was on Rogan and kind of doing the media blitz for that particular tour, he was explaining, we're not doing a full release. It's kind of a local release.
It's a really interesting way that they went around
They
that.
toured with the movie, right? And so they literally, him and Jason Mewes and a couple of the other cast members,
off and on,
they would go and they would basically screen the film for a local audience, one screening or two screenings or whatever it is, and then it was almost like a comedy deal where they would then do a Q&A after the movie, and it was a really cool setup.
And you want to go to some of that. I would love to meet Kevin Smith and just tell him, you ruined my life, you made me think I could be better than I am. Why did you do this? Why?
Yeah, because Kevin Smith is one of the kings of self-deprecation, right? He is what most of us are, but he became uber successful on his own terms too. That's the crazy part.
Yes,
he made movies the way he wanted to make movies, and then he still in his own way was successful, even though none of his movies were ever box office hits.
Exactly.
And along the way he also did the thing that it was encouraging, because he was like that guy who embraced his nerddom. He was all about the comic books. He even wrote some of the
I mean honestly,
Daredevil
if
stuff
you
and
think
all
about
that.
it, if it wasn't for people like him, we wouldn't have the nerdery that we have now. I mean, the whole nostalgia thing. If this was the world that we were growing up in, well, especially me, because I'm a little older than both of you. If this is the world I was growing up with, and you would never believe they were going to make live action movies that were like they were.
Oh no!
And I mean, it's chic to be geek.
Yeah, it pisses me off too, because
it makes me so mad, because do you know how many years I went being nothing?
I can remember having a conversation. It was after the Super Bowl, when the Patriots won their first one, I think. It may have been their second one. So it was like 2001-ish, 2002-ish, somewhere in there. And I can remember being at Mark Bryan's house, and he and I were talking shit because I loved Iron Man, which almost nobody did back then. Even if you were a comic book nerd, almost nobody loved Iron Man. And then he loved Aquaman, and everybody always made fun of Aquaman, too.
Yeah.
Even the comic book nerds.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah, comic book nerds still made fun of. And so you look back now, and everybody thinks, well, Iron Man is the cornerstone to kind of, the thing.
At that time frame, he was not.
He was not. And not only that, we would always he would be like, well, your dude's an alcoholic. What are you talking about? And I'd be like, well, your guy talks to fish. What are you talking about? You know, it was standard nerd bullshit where you banter back and
my
forth.
favorite is The Flash, and he wasn't until more recently.
More recent.
Yeah.
The show is wonderful.
And
when people would be like, oh, he runs fast, I'm like, he can literally vibrate through fucking material.
But nobody saw that because that was kind of like the other things he could do.
Anyway.
You just
So here we are sitting on a couch in circa 2001, 2002, well before Iron Man, you know, what I thought would be well before Iron Man would ever. I didn't think it was possible that he would get his own movie at the end of the day.
You couldn't picture it. There's no way you could picture
You
that.
couldn't. And so we were arguing, and I was like, well, I you know, just to talk shit, I was like, well, Iron Man's definitely going to get a movie before Aquaman if that ever happens. He's like, no, it definitely won't. Aquaman's way better. What are you talking about? And I was like, da-da. And then they announced, like literally 1 or 2 years later, they announced that they were going to be doing it. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not possible. And then I was devastated because I knew it was going to be awful. Right? You just know that it's going to be awful. After the string of Batman movies we had at that time, all of that stuff, we had Spider-Man movies, and they were okay.
Wait, you don't like Batman Forever?
You know, Clooney was definitely my favorite Bruce Wayne, for sure. So, you know, you couldn't picture it. And then they announced that Robert Downey Jr. was Iron, and I was like, oh no, that sounds awful. Now if you picture, how could he not be Iron Man?
He is Iron Man.
He is Tony Stark.
When he
right?
says at the end of that first movie, I am Iron Man. And you're just sitting there going, yes, you are.
And so that just goes to show you that, like, we were like uber nerds at the time, right? And you couldn't picture a world where there would be an Iron Man or an Aquaman movie. Here we are. Iron Man was the cornerstone for a multi-billion-dollar franchise that started. Aquaman made over $1 billion himself by himself. No Iron Man movie ever did that.
That's only because Momoa is super hot and played him, though.
Well, I mean, you know.
But it doesn't matter, though. I know a lot of people that enjoyed that movie. What
it was funny.
I've never seen it because I can't devastate Mark by telling him that it was terrible, right? So I'm afraid that it's going to be awful. And I'm like, I can't be honest with you because I know it's going to hurt your feelings.
I like that
sometimes
Shazam movie. People have made fun of it.
I hated that movie.
I've not seen it all the way through. I've seen bits of it, and I liked what I saw. And to be honest with you, Aquaman was a pretty good movie. It was funny.
But if we're being honest,
what you got to do sometimes, though, is not tell them how bad it was.
You don't know me well enough.
Yeah, he's going to tell him.
That's not how I roll. And then on top of all of that, like, Iron Man was better than all of them. So I win, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we could say objectively that Iron Man was a better movie.
Because, I mean, honestly...
without Iron Man, you don't get any of the rest of them.
That's right.
You don't get any of them. Jon Favreau and a washed-up actor in Robert Downey Jr. saved comic book movies for everyone.
Honestly, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man before Iron Man. He was
an
drunk,
alcoholic.
He was the very kind of, I don't know, eccentric in a different way from Johnny Depp, obviously.
Sure.
But he was his own type of person.
He was a playboy. He was all of that stuff.
You wouldn't think he was, you wouldn't know how good he was an actor, how good he is as an actor. But if you go back and watch Chaplin,
oh yeah,
he was freaking amazing in that movie.
Yeah, and Tropic Thunder.
I mean, yeah.
What's so funny is when Generation X found out about that movie and then they tried to cancel him.
Shit their pants.
And it was like, I'll say right now, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks, that was a brilliant part.
It was.
In a brilliant movie.
It was funny.
And if you don't understand what they were doing with that, then like maybe you need to be canceled. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of people in this world need to be canceled. Because,
no, let's not start canceling people. We don't want to be a part of the problem.
I was being facetious, but no, when they found out about it, I'm like, yeah, that movie's been out for a while. So first of all, shut the fuck up.
10 years before, maybe not 10 years before Iron Man.
No, it was actually after Iron Man. Right?
Was it? Oh,
it was after Iron Man 1.
Yeah,
Iron Man was what, 2004?
Yeah, 2004, 2005, something like that.
3, 4?
No, I think it was 4. Because it was literally like we had that conversation, and then like 2 years later, there was an Iron Man movie, and I was like, what the fuck? And then we had to wait another 12 12 to 13 years before he got his Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
However, I do not buy the idea that every MCU movie is good because there's some turds in there.
Iron Man 2 and 3 were garbage.
I'm not.
Almost
three
all of the
was
Thor,
better than 2.
I thought Hemsworth wasn't a terrible Thor, but I thought all of the Thor movies were awful.
No, Ragnarok.
You're never going to convince him that.
Oh my God, that movie is hilarious.
Nope.
The Stan Lee cameo in that movie
is hilarious.
Is perfect.
The problem is it's not supposed to be hilarious, and they fucked it up.
Okay,
we're not doing this. It's a funny movie.
It is a hilarious.
But
movie.
No, like so.
And yes, I did listen to that podcast. I did. I know you have
some of the movies though, like Winter Soldier was really great.
Oh my God!
Winter Soldier.
The very first, the Captain America, the first Avenger.
I loved it.
Super good.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy was obviously
Endgame.
Yep.
The first of the Endgame series. The second one was good. Don't get me wrong.
I thought the one with Ultron was
it was good.
Man. I went back and watched that just the other day, and do you know it actually is pretty decent.
It's not terrible.
I mean, it just did not hit me when it first came out, and I was like, this is a movie called Age of Ultron. He's in it for like 2 minutes at the end.
Yeah, but now there is one part of the first Avengers flick, the first like full movie with the Avengers, that'll give me a nerd boner until the day I die, and it's when that big fucking thing is coming towards them, and they're like, Bruce, you better get angry. And he just turns and he says, that's the secret, Cap. I'm always angry. And he just, every time I'm like, ah!
Yes.
Hulk smash!
Yes.
The Russo brothers, they legitimately, they are great at what they do.
Yes.
Right?
And at first I was bummed that Ed Norton got replaced as
no,
Banner.
Mark Ruffalo.
Well, because but I didn't
You didn't know.
You
didn't know.
And now I'm like, thank God that
But
happened.
I mean,
really? You don't think Ed Norton would have nailed that too?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Do you know why I don't
Maybe.
know? Because they say he's such a dick.
Yeah, but
And I think he would have wanted too much. And the thing is, if they would have went and put him in the first Avengers movie, it would have been hard to replace him after that.
Oh, certainly that.
But I just think Ruffalo killed that part so
I really
hard
do,
that it's like
I loved the Hulk movie with him with Ed Norton.
me too.
In it.
Me too.
It was a good movie.
That's why
Oh, yeah.
whenever they were like, "Oh, it's Ruffalo," I was like, "Oh, I don't know, man."
Yeah.
But then when I saw it, I was like, "Okay, like
I love
undeniable."
Ruffalo
and
too.
also the replacement of Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle was
a win.
because Howard was good, man.
He was good.
But man,
But
it's
it was
like,
an overall win.
Yeah,
at the
dude.
end
It
of
really
the
was.
day.
He's
Terrence
wonderful.
Howard is a little over the top sometimes. I loved him in the first movie.
Yeah.
But I thought that Don Cheadle was a better version of that character.
And
I'll
I
agree.
think at the end
played
of the
a more
day,
serious
if I
role.
stack them up against each other, actor for actor, I would probably go Cheadle.
Oh,
and
much.
I like Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
But Cheadle was just has this.
Yeah.
thing.
Cheadle has a bigger range,
Yeah.
and he's a more serious actor, in my opinion. In that,
But he can
way.
also play the funny part.
Yes,
and
and
Yes.
so like his Ocean's 13 character was really, really good.
I never got to
some
13. I watched the first two.
So
And
I
never
don't
got
know
to
why.
13.
I don't know if this is. I don't know. This is one of the only things I ever remember about any of those movies. And I'll rewatch. I think they're cool movies. I think it's in Ocean's 11 where the little Asian guy.
Oh man,
When he's sitting in
he's the best character in the whole fucking movie.
Where he's sitting on the thing when they finally open the safe and he goes, "The fuck you been?
the fuck you been?
It's the funniest thing ever.
Have you ever seen the original though?
Oh yeah,
The Rat Pack version.
Yeah.
That ending. I watched. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. It was like one of those that came on TV before the new movies came out.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, and they start burning that money. Spoilers. And I'm sitting there going,
60.
Yeah, 60 years later. I'm sitting there watching it going, oh my God, that is the most amazing ending to a movie.
Oh yeah, gangster.
At the time, that was amazing because it was just like, I wasn't ready for it. I was like, they're going to get their money. That burning.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the remakes. I thought they were pretty
yeah.
good.
The first one, I
they're
know I
fun.
can remember the first one. I really liked it. And for some reason, I have not watched them since then, but I know I watched the first one. I'm positive I watched the second one.
no, they're not the same kind of movie, but I kind of lump them in my little my head of categories of movies. I put that kind of in there with the Bourne series and stuff.
yeah.
They're just fun to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the Bourne movie.
I did not hate them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The third one was tough to watch.
we could do this forever, and I would definitely want to have you back on.
Yes.
So, real quick before we wrap this up, and I hate to abruptly do that because
no worries.
But you're working on some stuff now. What are we working on?
Okay, so I have a new book. I actually wrote it about a year ago, but I just kind of put it to the side. It's the biggest thing I've ever written. It's over 80,000 words. It's called Future Queen. It is nothing like I've ever written. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic world, kind of a medieval world, let's say.
Is it, but not high fantasy?
No, okay. Like completely just realize, like let's just say just waste out the world and just start over with a small, couple 100,000 people, and they've become a kingdom, and instead of like a family, monarchy, whatever, every so many years they take and they do like a kind of like a lottery type thing, and they get all the girls at a certain age. And they test them, and then they pick one girl, to be the queen. And I know this sounds like some major fantasy thing, but it's actually, when I was writing it, I didn't want it to have any major, oh my God, moments. I wanted to just write it straight. And so what I've done, I'm still in the midst of, my friend Michael is still in the midst of editing. We work together on editing it. But we thought, I was sitting there thinking, I'm going to do something different. I don't really have luck with my sales. I'm not really into the sales. I just want people to read and enjoy my stuff. That's all I've ever really want. I want to entertain people.
Sure.
So I thought, I'm going to do something different. We've got the first 5 chapters edited. I'm like, I'm literally going to take this and release it as a preview.
Okay.
So I've released it. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle. And I might even see if I can get somebody to do audio, Audible for it. And
no, that's something you can go and download right now.
Yeah, you can do it right now.
So that's
on
Future Queen.
If you can spell my last name,
HACHTEL.
That's it.
Yep.
If you can spell that and Keith at the beginning, you got it. Because I'm the only one.
Yeah.
But it's the first 5 chapters, about 85 words. And to be honest with you, if you're interested and you want to read it and you don't want to spend the money, I will give you that first 5 chapters. You just go on my email me. Can'tWinProductions@yahoo, or go on Facebook, like my page, Can't Win Productions.
Yeah, guys, check them out, and you also have things, but much too young to care.
That one is, in this day and age, it's probably the reason it didn't do so well is because it's kind of it's set in 98 and 2003, so a lot of the stuff is in this day and age. Not necessarily politically correct.
Sure.
So
and then there's Letters to Paul.
Letters to Paul, and I'm literally. I'm going to release a volume 2 of that.
Okay.
Within the next few weeks, because I've already got it written, already got it edited. I just got to do some, thank you, a page on it, add my stuff on there, and when I get the money, because. Some things. I'm going to get that the girl, Miss Danielle, to do the voice narration for that one too. Because I'm telling you, when we get done, I'm going to let you listen to some of it. She is wonderful.
Awesome.
And I'm going to get her to do that. I've got my friend Jason Pipkin. I'm going to somehow force him to paint me a cover for the actual release of the book. I've got just a base cover right now, stolen picture. I didn't say that. But
borrowed.
You can. Yeah, if you want to read it, anybody wants to read it, contact me because I give my stuff out free. I've got a website, Keith at not the symbol. Keith at simplesite.com, and I've got like all kinds of free short stories that I've written in there.
Oh, cool. So check him out, Keith Hochtel. It's HACHTEL. You can find his stuff on Amazon and also at his site, and look him up on Facebook. He's a great dude. He writes some cool stories, and I really appreciate you coming by, man. I know we kind of rambled on there at the end about whatever, but I had a lot of fun.
Love it.
Josh, you got any?
No, I would add pay the motherfucker for his time, effort, and creativity.
Hey,
I know that he wants to enjoy it, but also support local creative people.
I agree.
And even if it's $1, just give him a little something for it.
The Kindle's like 99 cents.
Yeah. Just go pay for it.
Yeah, don't be a cheap ass and buy our dude's stuff, because that's how he's going to continue. But so you can at least get the preview too for Future Queen.
Yes.
And look through it and buy his stuff. It's good stuff.
Letters to Paul is only about 42 pages.
Yeah.
It's really short, but it's very it hits you.
Yeah. So go support our homie and do the thing.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. And yeah, man, once again, thank you for coming by. And I would definitely want to get you back on here.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know we could sit here for 3 or 4 hours and just
Easy.
rap about everything under the sun. And we want to make our listeners like ready for the next time. But yeah, you're our first guest since shit, man.
I'm post-COVID and possibly yet again pre-COVID.
Yeah. So yeah, you're the first guest since what, March or
Yes.
late February even?
Late February, yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting to have people back in here when.
Well, I'm excited to have been here, and it's been fun, and I would love to come back.
All right, guys. So thanks for listening, and remember to check us out on social media as well at Facebook. Don't do much with the Twitter, but we are on Twitter and Instagram as well. I got to get better at that. I say it all the time, but it is what it is. But we always post everything on Facebook, and you can also send us an email at stayradpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and always remember to stay rad.